All right, everyone, we're back in it with another review. No notes, no nothing. This is a first impressions, and we're going in with Dragon Ball Super Hero. Real quick, we're going to jump right into the plot. The Red Ribbon Army has been reformed once again as Commander Red's son, Magenta, has recruited the grandson of Dr. Gero, named Dr. Hito, into creating androids in order to defeat the Z Fighters and take over the world. It's a fairly basic story, but there's a lot of fun stuff to get into, so we're gonna get into it right now. First off, no Goku and Vegeta at all. This is not Goku and Vegeta's story. They're in it for like a little bit, but it's just there to remind you that they and Broly exist as they hang out with Whis and Beerus, and also to have a little exposition on how strength is more than just how hard you can punch and how you can control your ki or how instinctually you fight, etc., etc., and how they're more than just bodybuilders putting on muscle, they're warriors. So that's all they contribute to the plot. This entire movie, this is Piccolo and Gohan's story. And I love that. It's so good to finally get a piece of Dragon Ball media where Goku and Vegeta don't have to swoop in to save the day at the last second, or they don't even have to be in the plot, period. We can focus on other characters. And Piccolo and Gohan needed it the most because from the time they were introduced to now, they definitely got the most shaft. You could argue that characters like Yamcha, Krillin, etc., got shafted as well, but Krillin and Yamcha come from a time where Dragon Ball was more comedic, and therefore they're more comedic characters, and therefore them continuing to be comedic isn't out of the ordinary. But characters like Piccolo and Gohan, who were initially treated as very serious, eventually kind of wavered off and became less serious and less effective fighters as time went on. So it's good to see that finally they get the shot to be real heroes. Speaking of heroes, we have our villains, the Red Ribbon Army, and the androids that they create, Gamma number one and Gamma number two, along with Dr. Hito, who is obsessed with superheroes and the idea of justice and all that. They're really good characters. I love Dr. Hito. I love that he's a very morally gray character. He's not immediately a villain just because he's Dr. Gero's grandson. And I love how he experiments on himself. I love all the little technologies he does. I love the creation of Gamma 1 and Gamma 2. Those are really good characters as well. You really get attached to them, especially to Gamma number 2. They pull off the really campy, really silly superhero types like the Great Saiyaman to the point where they have like background noises like the type you would see in the Batman cartoons show up as like holograms in the middle of their fights. It's a really good send up. It's campy in a good way. I There's a lot of love for the superhero genre in this movie. And you really get attached to these characters, Gamma 1 and Gamma 2, especially Gamma 2. The cast for them, they pull off a really good performance. Zeno Robinson is Gamma 2, absolutely brilliant. And I really hope that Dr. Hito becomes a mainstay in the franchise because in my opinion, he's too good of a character to just leave for a movie and then never come back. Let's see here. We got my little notes. Let's talk about the animation right quick. The most of the movie is animated in CGI, and it looks a little funky, but compared to earlier movies like Battle of Gods or Resurrection F, the animation has gotten phenomenally better. It is so much better than those other movies and a lot better than the CGI in Super Broly even. Like the fight scenes, they're really fluid, they're really nice. The character models look on point for Toriyama's style. The CGI has gone leagues and leagues beyond what it used to be. The only big issue is the lip syncing on the models still really sucks. And I don't know if that's an issue exclusive to the dub or if the sub also has like weird lip sync stuff. It could just be translating it from Japanese to English, or it could be an issue with the models as a whole. But either way, the lip syncing, it was weird. It was really weird. Let's see, we have our like I said, Piccolo and Gohan are the main characters for the most part, and their interactions together are really good. Piccolo trying to push Gohan to finally be a warrior again, to get past the mentality of being a scholar, just in case like there's any threats that come to harm the Earth, which it's Dragon Ball. They happen like once every year. if that. And then we also have Piccolo trying to raise Gohan's daughter, Pan. And Piccolo and Pan's relationship is so freaking cute. They are precious together. Pan is such an adorable little fireball, and Piccolo and her relationship is so adorable the way they interact with each other. And Gohan's fatherly instincts to protect his daughter, it's such an adorable little concept. I love them so much. And they even do Videl right too, because they, instead of just making her only a mom, they turned her into like a martial artist teacher, and that's why she doesn't have as much time to raise Pan. It's a really great step for Videl to finally get back into the martial arts story. Even though we don't really see much of Videl in this movie, the fact that they took the time to show that she's not just a mom anymore is really good stuff. Let's see here. Red Ribbon Army, of course, they're all really great. I talked a little bit about Dr. Hito and Gamma 1 and Gamma 2, but also Magenta he's a great character. He's a lot like his dad without the short complex, the height complex. He's a really good character, a really funny character, especially really devious too. His minion, Carmine, I believe his name is, he's also really fun. I love that he has like a little YouTube channel that has like no views on it, and it's all just security footage of them spying on the heroes. I love that. It's so good. And one more villain. Cell makes a comeback, kind of. Dr. Hito creates a upgraded version of Cell called Cell Max, and I'm incredibly mixed about him. You see, Akira Toriyama nowadays is really good at taking those old concepts from early Dragon Ball and bringing them back in a new way that doesn't feel forced. Like you could see earlier, they had Super Saiyan Blue combined with Kaioken and stuff like that, or the time machine that Cell came back in time with being used to go back to the future to stop Goku Black, or even the Mafuba being used in an attempt to defeat Zamasu. There's a lot of stuff that Toriyama had back in the day that he is able to bring back into modern Dragon Ball without making it feel like, oh, it's just nostalgia pandering. And he does a lot of that in this movie too. Not only with the Red Ribbon Army, but with concepts like the Grand Elder upgrading Gohan and Krillin and Namek being a concept that's brought back in order to try and upgrade Piccolo to give him a really quick power up. And when that's not available, Dende offers to upgrade Shenron like he did before to make Shenron grant 3 wishes at once. So now Shenron has the power to draw out people's latent potential. With that in mind, bringing back Cell is it makes sense thematically because Cell was a product of the Red Ribbon Army, and Dr. Hito is the grandson of Dr. Gero. So of course it makes sense in a thematic way for Dr. Hito to have his own version of Cell to create. But at the same time, not every villain needs to come back in the modern day. Like when Frieza came back and was finally established as a new threat and got that power boost, it was mind-boggling for everybody. All the Dragon Ball fans went crazy, like, "Oh crap, Frieza's back, and he's stronger, and he's able to stand toe to toe with Goku and Vegeta in God form." That's a type of wow factor that you can't really replicate, and I guess Toriyama tried to do that with Cell, but it doesn't really work this time. Cell Max does have a really cool design though. I love like the he has a weird little wrecking ball for a tail. He has a really cool color scheme. The fact that he's basically a kaiju now, even though he has like no personality to speak of, he's just a mindless beast. He has a cool design, he has a cool look, and it makes sense for him to come back, but at the same time, this film didn't really need an updated version of Cell. Let's see what other notes do I have here. The score, the music was really good. Very triumphant, very it hits you right in the feels when you need it to. See what else we got here. Goten and Trunks come back for a little bit, and I love that they're finally grown up. Like for years and years and years, even though it's been years and years and years in Dragon Ball universe, Goten and Trunks have been stuck as kids. So it's finally good to see them grow up in a way. And it's good to see Gotenks, and it makes sense that they wouldn't remember how to do the fusion dance for however long it's been. So it's a shame that we don't get to see prime cool Gotenks in his adult form. But I love how they found a way to make the failed fat Gotenks useful. Let's see here. Got a couple extra notes. This is what you get with these videos. I'm literally just talking into a mic for God knows how long. Let's see here. Some negatives. Majin Buu, unfortunately, once again shafted. They always do this thing where, in order to get Majin Buu out of the story, because if he was in it, things would get solved too quickly, they just have Majin Buu go to sleep. They did it with the Universe 6 tournament. They did it with the Tournament of Power. They always try to twist and find a way to get Majin Buu out of the story, and I hate that. Like, because Majin Buu is an interesting character, and I would love to see him in these new stories. But I understand the fact that if he's in these new stories, then things would get resolved way too quickly, and we need that drama. Speaking of drama, the fear of death means nothing in Dragon Ball. Us fans, we know that. Dragon Ball fans understand that there is no fear when somebody dies because all they need to do is get brought back with the Dragon Balls. They do manage to keep the situations really tense based on the animation and the music, but there's always that lingering thought in your head that, oh, all they have to do is revive someone with the Dragon Balls if they die. Except for Gamma 2. Gamma 2 has a big sacrifice at the end, and due to the fact that he's an android, he can't come back. So that death sticks, and that remains like an actual intense moment. Finally, let's talk about the transformation. All right, so Piccolo and Gohan, in an attempt as they make them the main characters, they also have to find a way in order to make them powered up so that way they stay relevant in future Dragon Ball media, which means more transformations, more big power ups, more disjointed power scaling. We get Orange Piccolo, which I thought was actually a really cool power up, where Shenron, in addition to unlocking Piccolo's full potential, he gave him a little extra something. It's not really explained what. You could argue that it's something due to his connection with Kami, but Piccolo gets a new form and a big power up, and it looks really cool. He's big and bulky and orange. It's a big visual difference, and it's great to see a Namekian transform for once in God knows how long. This is the first time since the Android saga, I think, even all the way back then, that Piccolo finally feels like he has a substantial power up. Gohan also gets a new form, and unlike the other Piccolo form, this one doesn't really get an exclamation. When I saw it in theaters, I thought that maybe Gohan was going Ultra Instinct, but no, Ultra Instinct has a different look in terms of the eyes. His eyes went red. He has big, gray Super Saiyan 2 looking hair. This is a new transformation exclusive to Gohan. What is it? How did he get it? Why is it exclusive to Gohan? We don't know. That's just Dragon Ball at this point. Getting transformations exclusive to characters and barely any explanation as to what exactly they are. That's Dragon Ball. It's a bad it's a bad, but it's just something you come to expect with this franchise. That being said, though, the transformation was really cool, and that ending shot of him doing the special beam cannon, which was a really thematically satisfying thing. Him picking up Go Piccolo's one of Piccolo's best moves to defeat Cell Max with, that was really good. I loved that. One last minor negative: I hate the fact that Bulma uses the Dragon Balls for cosmetic nonsense. Like, it's the Dragon Balls. They felt the Dragon Balls went from these mystic items that can grant your wish and do whatever to, oh, we're just gonna call up Shenron like we're calling him up on Zoom or something. It's the Dragon Balls have become incredibly trivialized, which feels weird considering the franchise is called Dragon Ball. All in all, though, I loved Dragon Ball Superhero. I loved the movie. I loved the fact that Goku, and Vegeta were barely in it. I love the fact that Gohan and Piccolo finally got the spotlight. I loved that Toriyama brought back the Red Ribbon Army in a way that doesn't feel like, oh, we're just pandering to the fans. it is kind of pandering to the fans, but Toriyama found a way to make it feel natural, which is something he's gotten really good at since Super became a thing. Beerus and Whis were an absolute delight for however little part they took in the story. Broly, Limo, and Chilai were also in it. They were fun, even though they barely got to do anything. And this is just a minor note. Ever since the whole Vic Mignogna situation, which I will not comment on, Johnny Young Bosch has replaced him as Broly. And in between fighters not giving Broly any dialogue and Broly barely having any dialogue here, I feel like Johnny Young Bosch hasn't had a good chance of showing off how good he could portray Broly, and that is a shame because I want to see his take on this character and his take on the voice for this character. But in this movie, Broly has barely any lines. He's mostly a spectator to the fight that Goku and Vegeta have. Which, one last fun fact, after all these years, finally Vegeta gets a win over Goku with no shenanigans. This movie felt like it gave the fans everything they wanted in a way that made the story feel coherent. The few minor stuff is stuff like Cell Max. He's a very underwhelming villain. Cool design, cool fight, amazing fight, but just a very underwhelming villain as a whole, especially compared to his originator and the misuse of certain characters. But all in all, if you're a fan of Dragon Ball, you will love Dragon Ball Super Superhero. If you're clamoring for Gohan and Piccolo to finally do something, you got your wish. If you're clamoring for Pan to finally grow up and do something, you got your wish. If you're clamoring for good villains, if you're clamoring for Goten and Trunks to finally grow up, if you're clamoring for Goku and Vegeta to finally take a step to the side to let other characters get a chance to shine, you got your wish. My name is Crit. Thank you for listening.